Hi, I'm Randy Horton, Chief Solutions Officer from Orthogonal. We're here at the Anaheim Convention Center for MD&M West. And the challenge with conventions is you can't go to all of them. And even if you do, you can't talk to everybody interesting who's at all of them. So we're trying to bring you some of the best from what's going on here and some of the people with most interesting ideas. I'd like to introduce Mandar. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you work on? You've had a fascinating career, so we got a couple interesting topics to talk about, but who are you today?
So today, one of the features that I'm bringing to the table is the medical technologies side and the AI side. So by training, I'm a physician. I have a PhD in epidemiology and biostatistics. So that's where all of your V and V activities, verification, validation related studies, those come into play. So that's my background. And after that, for the last 7, 8 years, I have been purely working on the AI, healthcare AI particularly, abstracting certain things from unstructured data or implementing machine learning models to healthcare data, whether it is coming from insurance industry, whether it is coming from medical devices space, all of that put together, that has given me a good all-round experience. I currently work with a medical legal tech firm, which is working on the same like, medical data to something that is easy to assimilate. So bringing AI to where life is going to be a lot easier, or it is going to make life easier, that's where I'm currently at.
Very interesting. So you've done a lot of AI and data work in healthcare, but not just in medical device. You've
Yeah.
kind of done it across the spectrum of things.
Yeah. So basically, real world evidence is something that is required by whether you are in healthcare industry, in general, pharma, or medical devices.
Mm.
All of them have to prove that your device works or your thing works in the real world. So basically, that's where it all comes from.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So what are some of the things you're working on today?
So today, you mean at the conference?
Well, just in general, this in 2025.
In 2025. So on the menu in 2025 is my own company, Citingale. Citingale is, there is a story behind it is that it's the citing something as a reference is really important. When you use AI, people like to say that it is a black box model. And then unless I see a reference, I'll I'll believe it when I see it. So you need to cite your references.
Okay.
So that's where the music of citations is the citingale. It's a play on the nightingale as a bird and citing together, put
All
together
right.
as citingale.
Also, Nightingale as a nurse, or
No,
No.
a nightingale just as a bird.
very good.
But this is more of an academic research side. We wanted to create a product that would be useful for academic research. Whether you're in medical device industry, you need to look up previous medical literature that has been published in PubMed, archive.org, etc., to support your evidence. And to do that, you need a faster way to do it, more organized way of do it. Most of the times, you're going to be conducting systematic literature review, meta-analysis. This is a guided meditation of systematic review and meta-analysis that is going to give you what you need at the end of it. And you won't need to spend 40, 50, 60 hours reading every single line of every single research paper that invariably you're going to miss out something on.
I once read that somebody said that if you decided you wanted to read everything that was published in medicine, and you sat down every night to read 2 peer-reviewed articles every night, which is not bad if you're really reading them, at the end of the first year, you'd be 357 years behind.
Oh, pretty much. Yeah, that's a reasonable estimate. 357, I don't have the evidence or the citations for this particular statistic, so I'm not going to comment on it.
Something in that range. All right, so one of the interesting conversations you and I had before the conference was really that in MedTech now, there's almost 3 different worlds of software, and they're all really important to enabling medical devices. But in many ways, they're 3 very different disciplines. People generally are trained in one of them, maybe 2, but not all 3. And I thought we could talk a little bit about that from your perspective, since you've been across the space.
I would say that given the breadth of the situation, my depth might not be as good as it needs to be, because there are people focused on one particular specialty, let's say SIMD, only software integrated in a medical device. That doesn't have its own life outside the medical device. But the considerations for that kind of software and the utility of that software is much more limited, and it is more focused. But now there is a whole new world of software as a medical device. This can live without the hardware. Yes, you need some hardware, like you need an operating system on which it is going to work, but it is well beyond that software in a medical device. And given that it can run on multiple platforms, now the possible things that can go wrong has increased a little bit. Secondly, software as a medical device has its own life. It is just a software, so it can iterate upon itself really quickly. In terms of a developer might be able to push something really quickly, and it's easy to iterate. We keep on opening more and more doors for things to go wrong. And what was the third one?
Third one would be AI ML.
Oh,
Essentially data science as a
okay.
computing discipline.
I would put it as cherry on top rather than the third one, like whether it is SIMD or SAMD, you can have AI integrated into it. Even at a very focused SIMD level, your firmware can be running pretty much a microcode of a particular model that is going to do one specific function. It's an SIMD, but software as a medical device in that broader open space, open arena. Currently, it is being discussed a lot in terms of regulatory affairs. Once again, I like to go back to things can go wrong with AI on top of the software as a medical device, in which the space has already been sort of expanded for things to go wrong. It has increased, and I should say that has come because of the utility that has increased. Like it is genuinely, AI is going to be boon for the industry. I genuinely think that it's not going to be as bad as we think, but as the clarity on the regulatory side increases. So long story short, I wouldn't consider that as a third category, but it will affect AI model dictating what hardware it can run on. So AI on top of SIMD might be a different way of looking at it. Maybe it will go in that direction where a particular FPGA-like chips are being created specifically for that purpose, so that you don't have to bring in your general purpose computing on that platform. SIMD generally runs on the general computing platform, like your regular 64-bit CPU architecture.
Right.
Or
smartphone, cloud computer. Right.
So that's a much easier space to understand, and there is a lot of the innovation is going on both sides, but FPGA is a very much a specialized game. I haven't seen those many examples, at least I'm not aware of those many examples on AI and SIMD. I'll always be looking forward to seeing something new over there.
Interesting. So you it seems like you have several things you've done in your career, but you've done a lot around validation. You've also done a lot of work around evidence and real world data, real world evidence, taking things that are actually happening to people in the real world with devices and turning that back into clinical evidence. Can you talk about how you see that applying or being applied in medtech, or where you think it should be applied in our space specifically?
So I genuinely think that both streams are not that different. Whether it is a new drug that is coming to the market, whether it is new medical device coming to the market, both the times your requirement is that, number one, does your engine work the way it is supposed to? That means we are looking at the medical device, its algorithm, being validated clinically outside, and at the same time, in real world evidence, a new drug shows up into the market because they have done clinical trial like 1, 2, 3, and then in phase 4, you're still looking at real world evidence to support whether it is valid. So I'm just going to say that the V and V group, verification of the actual device functionality from user experience perspective, and validation from clinical study point of view. Both of those things are pretty much same. The study construction is pretty much same. I should say that the clinical trials are much more formal, the way pharmaceutical world sees it. But it's right there. It's like 85% of the clinical trial formality is already part of medical device validation process. So once again, real world data is the one that we should all be looking at, because a lot of things go really well in the lab, but once it is out in the market, and at the same time, if you want to find a particular population in the real world, that's where pharmaceutical world is at right now. Like all of the epidemiological studies are trying to find the right group of people to be part of the clinical trial, because that's where most of the time and effort goes. Same is true for medical devices. You can find 4 centers, but if you can't recruit your based on your power calculations, if you want to recruit 3,000 people, you might end up dragging your study for 3 years. Still, you're like, I don't have sufficient power to validate this. We are suffering the same problem on both sides. So it's not that different. Let's stick to the clinical trial model and just use it exactly as it is in the medical device space, specifically around the validation. Uh, it it should be fine, but unless you prove it in the real world, you shouldn't be using it.
So basically, if you're getting really stressed out in medtech about using real world data, real world evidence, relax a little bit, take what you know, particularly on validation, and apply it and think of it as an extension of it for a different domain.
Yeah, more on top of it, that's a great way of putting it. On top of that, look at your pharma brothers and sisters over there, the way they are constructing the studies, copy them, because that is a much formal way of doing it. They have done a lot of work, even on the CRO side. If clinical research organizations can be implemented on medtech sites the similar way, I think many of the bigger companies are already doing it. But if we can learn from each other and grow the community.
All right, so we can lean on our much wealthier cousins in pharma.
Yeah.
Very
Before
good.
they absorb you.
Very good. So a couple quick questions and wrap up. First of all, for our audience, people are watching us because they want to learn. Tell us one thing that people should read, listen to, watch, podcast, something to get some brand new gold nuggets for 2025 in our space.
Oh, I would say that currently LinkedIn is actually much better place for medical device. EU MDR, their LinkedIn channel, as well as FDA website, as long as it is there these days, we don't know what's going to happen. In the recent past, the things have happened based on that. But FDA website has a really great functionality on getting alerts. At least have those, and then search for the community members. There are an absolutely plethora of really good advisors currently on LinkedIn. That is the way that you're going to get the latest happening. It's almost like there is a competition between these people. It's just like, do you post it first or do I? Oh, that's a good thing for community.
Right. We all benefit. All right. So it's all happening on LinkedIn.
Pretty much, at least from my point of view. And conferences are always there, but conferences, I consider that if you know someone, like especially a conference like this big, if you know someone and you want to network specifically with them, you have to set up time. LinkedIn is going to be much more, if you're introvert and you're not really ready to go into the public, maybe just stalk people on LinkedIn, stalk good people on LinkedIn and grow your career.
Just don't send them a really annoying introductory message that's misspelled and sounds like,
ChatGPT will help you in that.
Dear Gary, instead of Randy. Very good. All right, one final question. Sure. We're in Anaheim, next door to Disneyland. How many times have you been in Anaheim?
0.
First time in Anaheim?
Yeah, this is the first time.
And are you going to Disneyland?
No.
All right.
Unfortunately not. My wife won't allow me just to enjoy myself here.
All right, we'll bring her next time. All right.
Well,
thank you for coming out.
Thank you so much, Randy.